All right. Let's see. Just getting set up here. Oh, hey, how's the volume coming through? Is that sounding okay? I brought in the okay, good. I brought in your new oh, as you can see on the screen, I brought in the new map with the dots. It's a much cleaner SVG there. It's a lot easier to work with. So, and actually, yeah, we'll take a look at that here. We're gonna rig up this new interactive map. It's got dots and stuff like that. So, oh, hold on, that's the kettle. Just a second, everybody. All right. Let's see. Okay, so we've replaced our map. We have some dots in there now. We're going to try to style the dots based off some things and make them interactable. What I'm hoping to do today is that bottom section is like an orange debug bar. It won't be there in the actual game. It's going to simulate some of the players' progress or actions rapidly so we can easily test the progression. So what I'd like to do is be able to rig up the world map screen where we start off with like one dot, our tutorial area, for example, and we simulate gathering enough stone, building a road to the next node, discovering the next node, building the road, and start unlocking the map, getting all the functionality of this particular screen in place. So let's see. So this right here, oh, you guys can't see the code. Let's see what I can do about that. Is it just that it's too wide? Oh. Let's scoot all of this over. And you're gonna have to make some more locations. I think a good thing to do will be to make more location maps. Yeah, I think we're gonna need some more location maps for sure. Transition. Let's see, one more time. Let's shrink the map a little bit more. Show a little bit more code there. So the first round, this map was very large. I like how this is done now, Rinzai, with the image. So is this the map for at least the MVP? No, I kind of like, so this is what I don't like about, the thing I don't like about this map is it's definitely not finished. And by that I mean, like, we're missing forests, we're missing any sort of other small things. What I do like about this map is it feels there, I feel there's a nice, like, natural separation here between the west, the central, and the east, or the west, the south, the east, with all of them sort of funneling into that northern volcanic area. It doesn't, I mean, to be honest, the map can easily change, because as you see with the snippet of code, all you're really changing here is the background image, and then the placement of these circles. I mean, it's going to take me, I already have the section here to rig up these circles as interactable. The one thing circle class CS. Okay, so the class, so you're just doing a fill. Yeah, so we could very easily overwrite both the fill and the stroke. Perfect. The feedback I would give you on your map, Rinzai, is that you made like a east to west block of mountains, and it's like a cluster more than like a range. And the thing I would say is that try to think back, try to imagine how this piece of land looks over 3,000 years, and how attractive the land needs to look for something like the Roman Empire to want to settle and expand on it, right? There needs to be areas where it's easy to pass through, easy to expand. You don't want to be walled in so much by the mountains that you're not able to establish a civilization. So, like, what I like about something like this is a thinner layer of mountains. Some of these small ones, that if we were talking about the three eras of this map, in the first era, where, like, the top, oh, and you guys can't see my mouse in this, that's fine. Imagine in the first era, any of the small mountains we see on this screen aren't even there. It's essentially just glaciers. Like, the top 2/3 of this map is essentially all frozen, all uninhabitable. And then the thing you got to think about that in, like, think of the Willamette Valley, right, where we live in Oregon, right? The reason why there is a valley right there in the middle of Oregon with really substantial hills, a few of them aren't mountains, but, like, especially in central Oregon, those are mountains. The reason why there's mountains is because a glacier moved through the valley, smoothed out the valley, and left the mountain, right? The mountains are on the side. So it's the same thing sort of here. As the glaciers melt, they're gonna leave valleys, right? There's gonna be this huge, right? This is that event that happens, like, what is it, 3,000 years in the past, 2,000 years in the past on this map. There's gonna be a huge, quick glacial melt because the north is gonna heat up really quick, and even if it doesn't erupt in the central areas here, we're gonna have a lot of, like, gas vents and heat vents, thermal vents. And all of that glacier is going to move quickly south. It's going to clear out these valleys, and they're going to have them in the west, the central going into south, and the east. Think about that natural flow of the glacier shaping your map, and I think you'll be in the right direction for how this would have naturally evolved. Now, what I imagine is after the glaciers move out, we have a map that is actually quite easy for the three regions to meet each other. Only the most substantial of mountains here should exist. Everywhere else should be plains. Okay? And that's that second phase, right after the thaw, or the, what do we call it? Not the warming, the awakening, I think is what. I'll have to look at. You know what? I actually have it here in the notes. Where do we have the story? Yeah, here it is. We had the awakening is. Yeah, the awakening is when the glaciers rapidly melt. The orogeny. Oh, I figured out how to spell this. Now, this is the phase in which there is the tectonic movement. And this is where the ranges need to exist. So they could be like lightly penciled in from the very beginning, right? Where were the major mountains, right? But during the second phase is where it happens much more substantially, and now we actually see the ranges being built, right? When the glaciers moved out, we have a nice big smoothing of the valleys and some hills and small mountains kind of like outlining where the ranges would be, but they're not there yet. The big seismic event hasn't happened yet. They're still passable. Once the orogeny happens, those passes close off. And so I feel like this is it's very fun from a storytelling point of view, because for an era of history, you could have an empire that would very easily span all three regions, and then for the next 1,000 years, they would be limited to whatever valley they ended up in. And that would, because it would be too difficult to pass. And then finally, the cataclysm, which is essentially the event that covers all three areas in ash and poison gas. So the thing I would say, the feedback with your map, I would say, is that the volcanic area shouldn't look like an island or a peninsula. I feel like it should look, and don't even worry about putting like a northern shore on this thing, because I imagine pretty much anything north of what we're seeing on the map, just imagine it's either all frozen or it's too rocky. This doesn't need to necessarily be an island they're coming to. What it is, think of it like, it could be like, think of this southern shoreline as like Greenland, right? It's a huge island. You have like Vikings or early explorers set out from that western edge of Europe and reaching Greenland. There's a lot more of it. Perhaps it's actually a whole other continent. Perhaps it's even like they almost hit the eastern edge of Canada there, right? There's still a whole bunch more land, but that's way more. They're not going to settle that for a long time. We're just dealing with this part. And the thing is, right at the beginning of history, 2/3 of this map is covered. They only have little fishing villages. Then we have this big clearing out. You have all these basically three fertile valleys that are connected. So now we have like the establishment of some sort of colonies and a pretty widespread empire there. Then the orogeny happens, and the thing with that is there's going to be a great amount of destruction with that much tectonic activity. But the next wave of settlers pretty much can own, like, wherever they settle, that valley is going to be the part that's accessible to them, and some other group or whatever would settle in a different valley. And trade and communication would really only happen by sea. So there'll be some, but it'd be very little. And then finally the last part, where everything just gets covered and then it's toxic and not even reachable for 1,000 years. So think of how the, just a second. Think about how the the land would look to achieve that right? The orogeny, I think the small hills would turn into small mountains. You would still have some major peaks in there, and I think that would be good, especially for the placement of where you want these pets. Spirit guardians, spirit guides. We want, especially when these are more of like natural or nature based, significant landmarks that are gonna stand the test of time through all three of these eras, spanning 3,000 years. A particular mountain, a particular peak, a particular river or lake, or volcano, right? That's where that spirit energy would be anchored, right? So it's just fine to have to think about, hey, what, like looking at this map, right? This whole big black mark right here on the right, I would imagine would happen at the very as part of the cataclysm. 1,000 years before that, that would be a nice big open plain, right? Yeah. So anyway, that's just some feedback there. I don't necessarily care about sticking with this particular map, but I do want something that looks a little bit more obvious. The three, like where you look at it and you can see three regions. The north, I don't expect the north to be a settleable, a colonizable region the way we speak about the south, the east, and the west. The north is simply where the volcano is. It's where it's the cluster of mountains where you're going to do combat, right? A lot of this just like we're partying together to do combat. It's not necessarily, the north is not a place we're going to find ruins, at least not human ruins. So there doesn't need to be a big open plain area. But yeah, the big thing missing here is forests, and forests can also be those natural barriers, like right in the middle of the screen there, where you see these green mountains, and then kind of the darker ones. I mean, that right there could be a forest, right? So thick and dense that it'd be very difficult for travelers to want to go through. But it would, at the edge of that would have been perfect for a town that would have wanted to be the lumber suppliers for that community, for that kingdom, etc. And so there would have been like a location there. And just like the Willamette Valley, right after the glacier moves out, the thing that comes next, right, it didn't stay a plains, it turned into a forest, right? And it's only a big empty, well, not, it's only a big flat plain now because we've deforested the Willamette Valley in Oregon to do farming. So yes, there would have been lots of forests here as well. I don't know how well that'll look on a map like this, right? I guess we got to test it out. I think maybe we'll play with putting it on a different layer and just seeing the detail. But yes, there should be some more markers here for that sort of terrain. Okay. Okay. Let's see, interactive map. Oh yeah, let's just collapse that. Can we just collapse that? That's all the detail. I can't. Can I collapse this? Where's my, oh, there's my code closing. There you go. So what I have is I have a group of nodes. Sorry. I have a group of nodes here. I have all these circles. And what we're going to do is we're going to make them clickable. And, oh yes, here we go. Make them so that they are unlockable. So let's see. I'm going to just do, I'm going to need some basic classes here to do some coloring. Fill, let's just try fill red. And let's just slap an important on there and just see if that helps. Class L1 danger. Let's see, hold on. Let's see. Let's also do the stroke red. I'm really excited to show off some of the other stuff that Rinzai has been working on as well. Oh, there we go. There we go. So that dot right there is red. Cool. In fact, maybe I'll just bounce into that just for a second so some folks can see some of the updates here. So we've got the pet section here. Let me just see something, just a sec. Yeah. Here, let me go over some of this stuff with you all. So here's the pet menu. Is that looking good? The pet page. Pets are creatures of mythology that do not belong to any one. They're not created by any of the one cultures. These are natural kind of energies and spirits that have been discovered by the cultures throughout time and worshipped to varying degrees. They're location based, so each pet will correspond to one particular node. So any of the communities that were established at that particular location over the 3,000 years will all sort of have the same, I don't want to call them deities, but spirits, spirit guides, spirit guardians. And so while the civilizations themselves were wiped out due to the volcanic or tectonic activity, over those 3,000 years, those people did communicate with the rest of the world. So we do know some about their culture. We do know some about, and in this case, their mythology. For example, like, you don't have to have gone to Egypt to know about Egyptian mythology, right? Knowledge was shared throughout time. But if you wanted to get a good set, like if you wanted to actually tap into that energy, you would have to go to that location, and that's sort of what we're trying to do here. This screen, unlike the other screens, this one will show you to some degree what is awaiting to be discovered, right? So here, Rinzai developed a wonderful screen, kind of like a Pokedex from Pokemon, where we are at least acknowledging there are these 9 creatures of mythology that you can find. And I'm going to go ahead. You need to be digging in a particular location to find knowledge of the pet. And I'm going to add, I need 10 shards to unlock the first level. When you get to the point where you can unlock, where you can level up one of your pets, a couple things happen. This button says summon. You see the active pet has that kind of glow effect on it, that blink, that pulse. If I move away to another pet, you'll see the first one that I was at still has that blue border, right? That's because that has an upgrade pending. It's the same color that matches up in the navigation. The pet with the numeral 1, I've got 1 upgrade pending. So there's a lot of UI elements that'll indicate to you when you have something to click, when you have something to upgrade. Especially good in an idle game where I'm not putting everything on the screen at the same time. You have to go to these different menus. I want to organize the content a little better like that. But I also don't want you to feel like you've missed out. Oh, I didn't realize I could have updated this pet all week or all day. Especially when this is a game where you're intended to kind of set your actions and then come back half a day later, 6 hours later, a day later. And then I want the interface to say, hey, you've got pets to upgrade, you've got equipment to upgrade, you've got, whatever. So I'm going to go back to my pet. I'm going to hit upgrade. So once I summon it, now the button will say upgrade instead of summon. I now have Boots. Boots is level 1, and we see the indicator. Now at level 1, the only thing we have is a single stat, damage in this case. The ability, Boots' ability is still unknown. We don't know enough about this pet yet to know what it can really do for us. We can, at this point, equip it to our character, so we can go into battle with Boots, but it's so lightly understood, not well understood. It's not understood well enough to really tap into its full potential. So we'll continue to gather, and I'm just going to award myself. We'll just award myself 30 pet shards now. As I upgrade to level 2, okay. And at level 3, the ability unlocks Ember Claw at level 3, and then I could upgrade to level 4. So that's sort of how the pets will work. We've had, and then we have the place of origin. So once you know where it is, you could easily jump back to, I want to go to I want to go to location 1 if I want more specific pet shards here. If I want a different pet, I need to go to a different location. And some other information. What was fun as well? Oh, cool. Thanks, Medith. Working on the Discord. Yeah, I haven't. Let's see. Yeah, I know it's been a very simple little Discord. That is very sweet. Wow. That looks super cool. Thank you. Announcements. Welcome. Oh, going live, yeah, for the yeah. Oh, there's all the links. Yeah, that's cool. The general cat, yeah, the coding discussion. Right, so Rinzai and I can keep it in different locations. Rakuth and Pyroclasm, excellent, and then yeah, awesome. Very cool. Okay, very cool. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, I knew updating Discord would have to be done at some point. Yeah. So what I really like the way Rinzai approached this was when you click on a pet that you don't know about, you'll see these runic characters. And I like that it presents this initial sort of mystery. I kind of want to use this sort of runic presentation of content in other spots as well. And as you learn about that particular thing, essentially you're translating, right, the runic into more of a common language. Outside of the scope of this current game jam, because we are now 50% the way through, so we have to start trimming features away in order to focus on something to ship. I would love it if there was a part that there was not only the finding of artifacts, but some amount of study, analysis to translate that stuff into something that is usable. I feel like that would be good, especially for a good idle game, because not only are you digging and excavating and accumulating artifacts, but then another process step, right? Because usually you end up gathering raw materials, turning raw materials into process materials, and then crafting process materials into your item. This is somewhat similar. You get the raw artifact, then you translate the artifact into knowledge, and then you apply the knowledge to the skill. So somewhere along the line there. So anyway, that's the pet screen. I think that's really cool. I think it looks really great. The character screen, this is something we worked on a lot over the past week, discussing how we kind of envision this. So you've got 8 pieces of equipment. The equipment, as it's presented right now, each piece of equipment has 4 stats. I think for launch, we're going to bring that down to 2 to 3, depending on the piece of equipment. And that's only because we're simplifying combat for launch. After launch, when combat gets a little bit more robust, there'll be more stats, more factors on the equipment. The way we're approaching equipment at this point, I want this. My big pet peeve with games is kind of the equipment. I'm like equipment fatigue, inventory just mess. Like, I don't like how Queslar has a ton of equipment, right, that you outgrow and then you have to craft more. I really like in Idle Quest where you just upgrade your equipment. So here, your helm is going to be your helm the whole game. And you upgrade, you can choose what stat on the helm to upgrade. Am I upgrading the armor? Am I upgrading the health? Right? But that's your helm. There's not really going to be a need to really ever reset it. There's not going to be a need to switch it out for something else. If we do that, we'd have to go full-blown RPG mode where we allow the crafting of helms, variants of helms, right? The fire helm, the ice helm, lightning helm, the knight helm, the warrior helm, etc. At that point, that's something I think bigger than Pyroclasm. That can be fun. It can be, but you need a good system to handle the inventory, the crafting, etc. I don't want to build that right now. I don't want to build a helm crafting game, right? And then the inventory management from there. So in this particular case, your equipment is set. It's got basically that's your way you upgrade your base stats. Yeah, and I know Rinzai, this doesn't have the latest of the combat stuff we talked about yesterday, and that's fine. But the spirit of it all is still here. Here is your base equipment, and instead of presenting 4 stats, it would be 2 or 3, maybe 1, depending on the piece of equipment. Over time, I do imagine we'll probably have a handful of stats or skills that these things kind of have permanently attached onto them. We have skills, and here you basically would say, hey, out of all the skills that I know, I can equip 4. Skills are passive, so again, sort of like Queslar, where the crit hit, the crit chance, the multi-hit are all kind of passive. They happen in combat. It'll be sort of the same thing here. Skills are either be boosts to some other stat or specific moves you do in combat, something like that. But it's going to be passive, not something that you have to like click and trigger. But here you'll get your full list of skills, and then the ability to swap into the different slots. Trinkets and gems. These will be the things that are more reminiscent of a proper like crafting, and well, let me kind of retract that a little bit. Trinkets and gems will be on the crafting menu, which I feel like will work similar to where pets do, where you find an artifact and then you upgrade it, right? It's not that you're crafting multiples of the same item. Once you found, like, all the items are unique. You just find them at level, like, essentially you discover them at level 0, and once you have enough of it, you have your level 1 weapon and you can equip it, just like a pet, right? The difference between, so trinkets, gems, and pets work in that, like, you have an inventory of them, and then you can select to equip 1 or 2 of them. So for pet here, this is your equipped pet. When I click pet, I would get a menu over here on the side of all my available pets, and then just select which one I'm swapping in. Trinkets and gems would be the same, and the crafting menu would be for trinkets and gems, and they would work similar to the pet one, where we have found a artifact of this old civilization. We've put it together. Is it going to be open source at all? I feel a good portion of it will be. The only parts I would not want to open source is anything that could compromise the back end security, right? So basically, what I want to do is after the game is released, I want to just kind of do like a nice sort of code review, and then I'd release portions of it. Absolutely. What we're seeing right, so there's certain things I can't provide open source. The graphics, for example, the graphics, a lot of these things are licensed, they're purchased, so I can't open source that. But a lot of the other parts of this, the components for this Vue app, absolutely, and that's one of the tenets of Slyboot Studio. I want to provide a lot of the stuff as open source. I'm not really scared too much of someone taking a good portion of this and trying to clone it. I think honestly, anyone trying to make a copy of a game we put together it'll be a pretty poor implementation. I think that's pretty obvious. So it's a no. So at this moment, I'm going to just do a PHP backend for the sake of the game jam, and just trying to get it done. I'm just going to use what I feel most comfortable with. I've played around with sockets. I'd love to do something like sockets. The other player that I know, VUY, offered to do some Node backend stuff. I would love to meet with a couple of folks that just wanted to do Node backend. A low ball, ha. And then if a couple folks wanted to work on a Node backend, that'd be fine. Personally, I want to learn the way like Elithor does with Zala. He's got the Laravel framework for the PHP backend. I'd love that. There are parts of this that I think should be done in Node, specifically that I know of, like Socket.io, that would just work very quick and fast, and that'd be nice. A comment was you talking if someone was a clone and copyright. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, like with any sort of mobile game or browser game or something like that, you can tell, maybe not at first glance, but it's not too hard to figure out when someone really has passion and energy about the project versus like a cash grab. The worst thing that would happen is someone takes something that looks like our game, puts it up, puts in monetization, making it look like it's a cash grab. Well, and then there's the case right there. I mean, I don't want to get all into like the legal nonsense of this. We can open source stuff and license it in such a way that you're not allowed to use it for a commercial project. Not to get all nitpicky or whatever, but if the purpose of open source is for educational purposes and not that someone start up their own game to make money off of like a direct clone, right? There's licenses for that. I would much rather show like, hey, this is how we put together the market. This is how we put together the character screen, the party screen, the pet screen. This is the logic of how we put this stuff together. If you want to, take some of this parts of this, use it in your own game, cool. I'm personally not worried about clones. This takes a lot of effort. Just to be able to clone this would take a lot of effort. So I'm not even going to worry too much about that stuff. Learn by example, looking at code. Midith, that is absolutely why I do the streams. I would like people to see under the hood how we're putting this stuff together. So I do see, for example, the logic of what we demoed on the pet screen. All of this, there's no secrets here. This is Vue conditional rendering, right? And yeah, we should be open sourcing this stuff. Again, the most valuable part, and by that I mean like the part that could take down the game and make it not fun, right? The back end of this, anything that would compromise the security or the integrity of the game, I will probably not make open source. And that is mostly going to be the back end stuff, or at least not without a good deal of review, right? But if we're just talking about how do I visually put together this, right? And if I shrink this, let's see if it I'm going to try to show you guys. Oh, wow. Okay, I tried to make it browser, but you see how I like kind of laid that out. it doesn't look good on the stream because it didn't resize the browser with it. But just teach you some bootstrap and responsiveness and stuff like that. Absolutely, there's no reason why this shouldn't be knowledge that's shared and put out there. This is just Vue. It's a bootstrap, and the theme you see is just a boot swatch theme. It's an open source theme. That's why when you were just going to show your browser, I put yes, the stream the coding as well. Absolutely. So yes, I do. Now the Node backend, perhaps in time, I would definitely want to learn. I would definitely want to learn and implement the thing that would give the players the best experience. At the moment, what I have in front of me is PHP, and the very obvious next step for me is to upgrade the PHP to something like what we see in Elithor. But what I'd love to do is, that's great for some of the more like idle stuff. For a portion of this game, if it ever went kind of like a real-time sort of game, I would love to do something with Socket.io. Right, a nice quick chat, a nice quick multiplayer interface, and that's where I do see web sockets and that. So okay, so let's see the character screen, and so that's sort of how the character screen is going to work. That too, this is going to look like crap, but let's see if it squishes. Okay, imagine this on your mobile phone without it being squishy. But we did get that to lay out decently. So this will work. This will look decent on mobile. Should look pretty nice. Mobile friendly. Let's go to the party screen. So the party screen, this is where you get to select your other players. We're going to make some changes here, but generally, right, you've got there. We're going to present these as like characters with like item level, essentially. Hold on. Sorry, just a sec. A culmination of all your stats and skills, and just. But the fun thing here. Oh, and something related to the character. Sorry, let me try to connect this. Your party, because Rinzai and I both want this to have a certain amount of strategy. That it's not just bigger numbers and then the mob has a certain number and you just have to get a bigger number than that. What I really like is some choices needed to be made, almost like the Queslar fighters, where there are certain choices and they have to be in certain positions. So in this game, there's going to be roles. In your party, there's going to be a tank role, a DPS role, and a utility role. And there will be skills, trinkets, gems, pets that complement each one of those roles, right? The nature of the boosts. Hey, is this just giving me a big plus to health, or is it a boost that gives plus health to all party members, or plus damage to all party members, right? So anyway, that role is going to be determined by your offhand equipment. So if you're DPS, it'll be a weapon you equip here. If you're a tank, it'll be a shield you equip there. If it's utility, it'll be something like a book. By simply equipping that, you identify yourself, you assign yourself the role. That's how this is going to work. So you're not going to be a tank with 2 swords. Right, or utility with 2 swords. And so when you go to your party screen, one of the first filters up here, we're gonna filter the players by their role. So you can say, hey, and the party doesn't have like a specific, I guess, role limit. Like if you want 2 tanks, so be it. You want 3 tanks, so be it. Doesn't matter. The combat logic will play through, as it is. So your party can be composed of up to 4 people in whatever roles you want. it's just sort of like kind of the sequence of how the battle will happen. Those rolls are, you know, like the tank will always be hit first, for example, right? And the yeah, and again, the skills and stuff, a lot of them will be kind of influenced by that roll. So that if you're either, I imagine the utility class, it could be a healer, it could be more like a bard, you could be, hey, I'm plussing damage to everyone, or I'm giving everyone health, or something like that, right? But anyway, so you can add your additional party members. You get a nice summary down there of your total stats, total party skills. I can remove somebody and add somebody else. Remove someone, add someone else. This is all done by Rinzai. This looks really nice. This is real clear. Each role has a party buff, essentially. Yep. So I think that's pretty good. And then that's how combat's going to be done. So we'd roll into combat with your party. The things that have been added since the last time we showed this was roll and the pet. The other thing is, hopefully before launch, I'd love, well, or after launch, instead of player name, or instead of just player name, we see the little sprite icon next to each player. I think visually that'll be very nice. Next to each skill, we see the little pixel art for each of the skills. The pets, we see the little pet pixel art. Roll wouldn't be in the list here. I would imagine roll being a little icon next to the name that would denote the shield or the sword or something like that. But I think so graphically, maybe demonstrate how to change the roll. Right, so if you go over to character and you go to your shield, right, there would be, right, wouldn't this be it, Rinzai? Where you would have, when I click this, it says my current item, and yes, I can upgrade that. Oh, is this it? Swap? Oh, I didn't see this before. This looks fucking amazing. Okay, so like I can swap to, fuck, look at that. So swap to the shield. So now I'm DPS, right? I swap to the book. Now I'm utility. That's great. Return. What I would say, Rinzai, is that like I'm not okay. That wasn't immediate obvious to me. What I was looking for is I was looking for this down here below. I don't know that we need to hide it in another thing. In another button click. Just have it down there below. But that's fine. The same thing with the character summary. I'd like to reduce the amount of button click. Well, it's an all, you know, this is an all, you know, this is where like simple UIs are the most difficult to do. This is just a table of information that I feel like we could probably drop below the character over here below the pet. It could just be there at all times. So it's a balance between how many clicks do we want in our interface versus what information we're trying to display. When are we overloading with information versus when are we overloading with the amount of clicks we require someone to make. So we don't need to necessarily change anything yet. This shouldn't just be based off just you and me. Keep it as it is. Match the party view. That's true, right? Because then you have the summary down there, right? And you could have, yeah. But I would say before making too many UI changes, I'd rather like to put it in front of like 20 people and then see where the pain point was, right? If one of the first questions is, how do I switch my role, right? That'd be the user experience pain point that we want to solve. If people are not at all confused by something, then there's no reason we should spend any time on it, right? Anyway, I also put the market. What I'm also finding too is our game looks really good in the container instead of the container fluid. So I put the market in a container here, and this looks nice. I also started to make it mobile friendly. It looks nice. So this is the market. Personally, the one thing I'm going to say about this is we should nix the seller. We shouldn't identify the seller. The thing here that I want to have happen is if two people choose the same price point, the quantities will simply be added together, right? So if you have 100 and I have 100 and we're both selling it at 5,500 gold, then the amount would be 200 at 5,500 gold, right? We just nix the seller thing entirely. There's no need to know who's selling something. I like the my listings. I like this. Sell order. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, this is great. Crafting material, and then yeah, whatever the other thing is, and we have the type ahead, and I think that's awesome. That's how Quest does it. Yeah, that's how both Elithor, Queslar do it. IQ does each individual listing, as opposed to, and I get it. There's a simpleness in the back end when you receive that query for order. For order ID X, Y amount is being purchased, as opposed to in Queslar and Elithor, when someone puts in a buy order for X amount of resources, it needs to figure out, hey, starting from, I guess, the oldest sell order, how much of that sell order is purchased? Is the whole thing purchased? Okay, boom. And then how much remainder goes into the next one? I mean, it's a more complicated back end. IQ has a simplified back end. But in IQ, you can't just put in, I'd like to buy 500 of a resource at this level, and then it, and that's actually this is where I will say market errors have happened in IQ that cannot happen in Queslar. You can't, just by the nature of that. For example, just a good example of that, you can't put you put a buy order, you reverse the quantity and the price, right? So I wish I had my iPad, but I don't. Could do it as a queue. That's how those markets work, right? They're essentially queues, just like the stock market, right? You have yeah. Yes, correct. Now, the simpler thing for right now, I don't know, it's not that hard to implement what we're talking about. But the interesting thing is here, just to call it the difference between IdleQuest and Queslar here, because I've made the same market mistake in both, and I got burned in IQ, but not in Queslar. I placed say for example, I placed a buy order for stone. Say 1,000,000 stone for 3 gold, right? In IQ, I wanted to buy 1,000,000 stone for 3 gold each. What I ended up putting in the request was I would like to buy 3 gold for 1,000,000 gold each, right? And that was a terrible mistake, as you can imagine. In Queslar, if you try to do that, you just put in a buy order. You're willing to pay up to 1,000,000 gold, and you're buying 3. Well, it fills the buy order because there is a sell order of less value than what your amount is, 1,000,000. But rather than charge you 1,000,000 gold for those 3 stone, it just filled the buy order quantity 3 at a max, at a ceiling of 1,000,000 gold, but it only charged me whatever the 3.5 gold it was for those 3 each, right? And so in Queslar you can't be burned, but yeah, okay, then that's just like common sense, right? But that's where, unless you're in a capitalist society, that's where the Queslar and Elithor markets are very good compared to the IQ one, right? The other thing I will say is, I forget which one it is. Maybe it's neither. If you place, or maybe it's both. I guess I need to, it's been a while since I do this. If I put in a big enough quantity buy order with a large enough ceiling, will it fill multiple queues, or does it just clear out one queue and then I think that puts, the rest? Yeah, I'd have to test that. But anyway, what I'd like to see here is simply the price and the quantity. That's it. QS does that. Yeah. I like how Queslar does the market. I like how Elithor does their market. You can't make a mistake. The biggest mistake you do is put up a buy order instead of a sell order. But you can't get essentially scammed the way you can in Idle Quest. When you put up, hey, I'd like to buy, when you mean to buy like 100 million stone for 4 gold each, but you put the opposite, and you end up losing 400 million gold and get 4 stone in return. It'll find from cheapest to most expensive based on your max price. Yeah, I really like that. Right, you're essentially just identifying your ceiling, and then it fills the buy order based off that. It's a very smooth user experience. It's very pleasing to buy something like that on Queslar. Yeah, dummy proof. Yeah, I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's what makes the difference between great apps, great games, and good ones, right? It's not about like the clever programming or anything like that. It's how does that user experience feel? The more intuitive and less kind of confusing things. Okay, so anyway, we're going to return to the coding of the map. Thanks for that little, I just want to give a bit of a summary there, but we're about an hour in. I am about 90% done with COVID. I'm feeling good, but I don't know how long I'm going to be able to talk. So I had very mild symptoms this week, which was really nice. But yeah, I don't know how much I can do this with the sun on me and do this and try to keep focused. But let's try to bring this to life. Okay. So what do I need to do here? I'm going to try to take off the importance and see if that helps. Will that make this not red? Will it keep it red? Let's see. Let's refresh. Looks like, okay, we're refreshing. Oops. Oh, I took away. It does not like, oh, let me show the code. Doop, doop, doop. Okay, good. It keeps the red. All right, cool. So we're going to do a couple of things here. Now, do any of these circles have IDs? They don't. Perfect. So we can ID them however we want. Okay. So I'm going to drop in a couple of things just to help me identify let's let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I love SVGs because they're responsive. So this should look good on mobile and on desktop, which is just great. Node 1. Let's see. So 2, 3. I'm going to try to give each node their own unique color, so I can just map out which dots are which. Rinzai made the map. Pink. Let's see, yellow. Orange. It's having a hard time. VS Code and Yarn are having a hard Webpack, because this particular component is like it's quite large because of the this SVG is just a large asset. So as I make changes to this view component, it's not refreshing as quickly as when I edit other components. Blue. So if I hit save here, ooh, there, save. Let's see. Oh, let's see. No, this should work. Come on. Let's open up our console and see why this is not. Let's render these. These aren't blue anymore. Sorry, there we go. Okay. We're missing 3, so let's copy and paste and get those down here. 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so what do we need? Here, we'll turn one black, white, and teal. Okay, let's see what this looks like when it refreshes. And then what I want to do is, there we go. So our region 1 is going to be red, black, white. And red, so here I'm going to take node 1, put it down here. Red. And I think the thing with this is I can reorder these in the SVG, but I'd prefer not to. 198 is region 1, so 1. Okay, so if I put the ID of this map, close this image. I don't want that open. Where's my? Come on. All of this is the detail of the map itself turned into an SVG. This is the text representation of that graphical asset. It's like the matrix, huh? Yeah, for those of you that are, so rather than, yeah, it's wild. Let's see. Oh, this is a very long file. There we go. Okay. There you go. All right. So this would be region 1, location 1. And how did we refer to that as that? Oh, we just referred to it as 1-1. Yep. And 9 was 1-2, and is 1-3. There we go. Cool. We have orange, green, pink. So 4, 5, 2. Four, 5, 2. Okay. which leaves yellow, teal, blue. Yellow is 3, 3, 7, 3, 7, 6. Three, 7, 6. All right. We have. Cool. All right. And just to region 1, I'm going to do some additional styling so it's a little bit clear. Region 3, this is region 3, region 2. I really enjoy working with SVG, scalar vector graphics. I like that you can work with them kind of right in the code. They're easy to style, easy to hook on different click events to. You can manipulate them, you can move them around the same way you could do with other elements in a web page. So I really like that. So we're gonna just do this for a second. So I'm gonna do region. I'm gonna turn all the region ones, give them a stroke of red. Let's see if that works. Get rid of all these other nodes. Yep, so the 3 red dots with the red borders, cool. Region 2, blue. Region 3, green. Just some nice visual indicators for debug purposes that we are actually dealing with what we want. Boom, 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 boom. And then the fill. Yeah, so blue right there. And here I'm just gonna strengthen the stroke width here so it's a lot easier to see. There we go, some nice, great. Region 1, 2, 3. Now what we want to do is we want to hide all the ones that your character currently does not have access to. So the way we did this is we do, let's see, a tab index. We want to make sure all of these are accessible. So we're going to make sure they all have a tab index. So you can play this game without a keyboard. That's important. Add that in there. What I'm also doing, so I'm giving each dot the class for the region, and I'm going to say, let's see, location 1, let's see, location 3, location 1. I'm going to do some more color indicators just for debug purposes. So location 2. Oh, we have, okay, hold on, I've messed this one up. They can't both be 3, 2. Location 3, location 3. Oh, okay, I messed something up there. Location 1, location 2. Just a second. Let's see. All right. And this is why we do debugging and testing. So we're going to have a border color based off the region and a fill color based off of whether it's the first, second, or third location in that region. We're going to do fill, and we'll start with let's see, location 1 we'll do white, location 3 we'll do black, and then we'll do gray. So let's let this update. Oh, and there's our color right there. You see, we have, hold on, it's gonna update. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Do we have, hold on just a sec. Oh, I didn't want to bring that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, good. So what is right there? There we have we don't have a black red dot. Let's fix that. Where's our, so we have a 1 1 2 3 3 1 2 1 2 2 3 2. We have 2 3 2s. I don't like that. 1 3. Oh, here it is, location 3. I put in the wrong location. That should switch that top left dot to black now. Oh, and then on the green, you see that? We have 2 3. So we need a 3 3. That's what we need. So let's just see if this one is the 3 3 or not. I can look at the X and Y and see, but yeah, one of these is higher. I think I just made that. It's going to take a second to update. Yep. Okay. So this one is location 3 3. Okay. So there we go. Our beginner locations are in white. Secondary locations in gray. Final locations for that storyline, for that culture, are in black, and then kind of the connectedness is also in the border color. So that should be pretty clear. Now we should put the click events on. Let's see if I've done this right. I do think, I don't know if you're back yet, Rinzai, having it as circles instead of the groups is going to make this a lot easier. Because before, I was having to see if there was a parent element involved, and now I can just this should just work. I'm going to put a console log here, console log ID. So what's happening here is when I click on this, oops, what's it yelling at me for? There you go. When I click on, oh, that's get location ID. Hold on, select node, yeah, get. So when I click on the location, it's going to pass the click event into a function here I have called select node. It's going to pass that event into get location ID. So this no longer has to happen, actually. This was a previous function I was using as a workaround for the previous SVG. But get location IDs, because now I've just assigned the IDs, yeah, to the nodes themselves. So this is even easier. This, what is it, event ID? What is it? This event target ID, and let's just do this. Let's just console log the IDs. This next function is a router push. We won't push over to the locations page. All we'll do right now is test that when I click on a node, it should give me the ID in the console log. Okay, that's not giving me anything. Let's see. Select node. Here, let's put event in there. Click. Oh, ID was assigned but never used. Yeah. Hold on, where is it? Just comment it out for now. Okay. Oh, I've only bound it on the one region 1, 2 is the only one. There it is. Okay, that's the pointer event. Okay, good. And if I look in the pointer event, I should see a property called target. Yep, and that should have a property called ID. There it is, 1, 2. Perfect. So if I do this and that, and I grab this event and I put it on all these other ones, I wait for the refresh. Clear out my console here. Click 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1. Perfect. Okay, so let's we connect it to the router push. Oh, and then the last thing we would do is the location unlock. So here, we'll test this with a fully unlocked map. It should now, when I click this, I should now, there we go. Here's location 3, 1. I'm gonna go back to the world, 2, 1. Nice. World 1, 1. Perfect. So we've rigged up the map to have the same click functionality that we had before. Go back to world. Good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hide these. In just a sec. I'll be back. Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do, you can hide the dots in 2 different ways. You can either use CSS to change the display. And you can accomplish the same thing in Vue using the vshow command. We're going to use the vif, and this trigger, essentially this is part of conditional rendering. If it's just a CSS thing, someone can right click, inspect this element, see all the dots, right? Now the game would still kind of, I would hope we get to the point, the game would of course reject you if you tried to go to a location that you couldn't unlock. But you know, I'm not going to be a stickler about it. You're like, you can't do actions there. You can't get anything from it. But to make that even more secure, using a VIF, this particular part of the HTML, this markup, won't even be in the DOM. We won't render it out to the screen if the conditions aren't met for it to show up. So it's not that we're hiding it with CSS. We're not actually rendering it to the screen at all. So that's the approach we're going to take. We have a function here that basically just says location unlocked, and you know, I guess we'll do like a nice. We want it to return a true false, so we'll do like is location known, and we'd pass in. We have to pass in the ID. So this would be 1, 2. Uh, 1, 3. 1, 3, 2. 1, 3. Yep, there you go. It makes me think at a certain point, Rinzai, if you're there, the next time we do something like this, like post when we go live, this may be a lot easier to manage, as you can see, in like a loop. Like put all the dots in a something we can iterate through, so we don't have to duplicate this so many times. Because all of this stuff, like we could do a for loop and abstract all of this to a JSON file, all the X, Y coordinates, the radius, all this stuff. And so we are kind of programmatically building the SVG. That would actually be a nice, moving forward, like way after MVP. This is really not a problem. Like this is duplicate code, and it's a little bit of a little annoying to copy and paste something 9 times. But at the end of the day, what you want to be careful about is doing unnecessary or premature optimization, where you're like, oh, that can be improved, and so you go ahead and improve something that already works, rather than focus on something that isn't in your game yet. Because players don't care. Players don't care that this is a list of 9 points as opposed to a loop that iterates through 9 times and prints 9 circles. And they don't care. They just want the thing to work. Is location known? ID. And then what we're going to do is I'm actually going to connect this to our debug bar. Let me refresh that to get the that back. Oh shit, nothing is known. This is good. That's intended. Okay. How about and let's just test. I shouldn't be able to click, right? And if I inspect this, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to inspect this right now. If I look at this, you see this? There's a group of nodes. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of VFs. Hold on, let me try to show that one more time. Okay? See that? The DOM elements are not actually there. No one can force the dot to appear. So no one can, essentially no one can, just by interacting with this map, no one can force their way into a certain location. Okay? It's not too critical because I'll be putting the location IDs in the URLs anyway, so you could just type it in. But the first thing that's going to happen on that screen is to check whether or not you should have access to it or not. But yeah, anyway, that's a nice little thing there. What I should do as well on the side here is make sure you can only see the certain regions that you should. Okay, let's actually get this rigged up. what we here, I'm going to close the debug bar. What we have there, down there at the bottom is the orange debug bar that right now allows me to add pet shards, add damage orbs, add attribute shards. Oh, that's character. Hold on. Do we actually have? Oh, I completely forgot. We actually did this. If I add 10 damage shards, yeah, there we go. And the text turns green. It's red other cases. I shouldn't be able to upgrade you. Oh, because I haven't. Okay, and then attribute shards, and now I can upgrade. Yeah, and you upgraded, and it doesn't subtract yet. Okay, but that's right. Okay, so we're going to add to this debug bar for the map, and we're going to put some discovery in here. Debug, debug, debug. Components, let's close character, market, the debug. Here we go. Now here's some buttons. And we're going to create a new section here for the map. Let's go ahead and throw in like an HR so we get a nice separation here. And let's throw in a button. And this button should be, trying to think. Let me see what happens when I click one of these. So this is the location screen where you can gather. There's some battle details and some spells. Those are the buffs provided by the other players. You can go here once you've discovered it. What is discovery? What does discovery mean? Discovery works like pets. You have to find a certain amount of elements and then summon it. With locations, in the lore of the game as you play, what I imagine is happening is you are unearthing City 1 and finding map fragments, notes, etc. that detail the location of City 2. You need sufficient details or map fragments to know where City 2 is. So you need to keep digging at City 1, at location 1. Once you do that, once you have all the map fragments, then you have to use your stone, probably to do some sort of road work or something like that, in order to build a way to location 2. And then, so it's sort of a way to gate how quickly people can progress. So you can't just rush. But, so what does that mean? I need to have map fragments. So I don't have an inventory. So there's not like a... We could put an inventory. But there's no place right now that says, hey, where are my map fragments? Right? How do I actually combine them into the map? How do I build the road to unlock this location? I can do that on this screen. So the very first time you find your first map fragment, we can actually display the dot. Yeah, and when you click on it, generally it's, oh, that's the region location. I like this screen a lot. Maybe there's an in-between location. Hold on just a second. Mm. So you get a little overview of your progress towards discovering that location or not. I mean, it could be on this screen. We just show alternative content. The thing is, this camp setup implies that you're there, you've discovered it. Just a second. Oh, the dog's barking. Just a second. Yeah. Actually, I think this would put a slight strain on Rinzai and I. But it wouldn't be a bad idea if we took all the decorations, all the camps and tents and stuff like that, put that on one layer, right? And made it that you could look into this location. Oh, let me think. Like you'd have this location without any of the build-up, without any of the hole, without the fortifications until you built it, so that the image is a little bit more dynamic, responding to the upgrades you have. It's probably outside of the scope of what we can do in the next 2 weeks, but I do like that sort of like ever evolving, because that's the thing. Like as you get down to layer 2 in here, I feel like the hole would become bigger. Layer 3, the hole would become bigger. I think graphically, that would be very pleasing for players to see some like UI changes as you progress and make upgrades to this area. Yeah. Okay. But for now, let's go ahead and do this. I think as long as you have at least one map shard. Excuse me. All right, here we go. So what we need to do is we're going to add an item, and the item is going to be map fragment. One. Add amount. Add map fragment 1. Okay, that's down there at the bottom now. Okay, now something else is beeping at me. Okay, this will be the last time that I have to pop away. Just a second. Okay. Let's see, hold on. Hold on just a second. Checking IQ for some stuff. There's a FedEx truck outside, and the dog does not like the FedEx person. Okay, let's go for the warlords. Great. Okay. Cool. I think this will work. Okay, so basically we're going to add a map fragment item. All right. I'm just thinking about this map situation. Okay, so I'm going to add a map fragment, and that should add it to my inventory. And create an item map fragment 1 1, and I'm going to add one of them. Bam. If I look in hello, new viewer. We are working on Pyroclasm, an idle RPG browser-based game. Right now, working on making kind of the world map come to life here. So what I want to do in my map screen, import. We're going to do, I guess it's going to be a map getters from Vuex. In the same way that on the pet screen, I was checking to see, do I have the right pet fragments to upgrade the pet? I want to do the same thing here, where in the store I have, what is it? Where is it? Down here at the bottom? Get items by type, get items by ID. I think it's get items by ID, and then it should return to me the quantity of the item. Yeah, the quantity of the items that I have. Get item by ID. Okay. So what I want, import map getters, and then I want to use that in my, yeah, it's going to be, I guess, a method. Map getters. Let's see, map getters. I want to get item by ID, right? And then what I want to do is location known. What I want to do is I want to do a check for this get item by ID, and what I'm looking for is map fragment, and then it's the region. Yeah, it's the ID of the node. So you really just have to do this. And it's probably even a little redundant to even call that is location known when really I can just check whether or not you have any map fragments. But here we go. This should, I'm going to open up okay. Well, not everything turned on. Sorry. Got a little distracted there. Sorry, guys. Get item by ID. Too much. Let's see. Reload. Object. Amount. Key. Here, let me refresh. Oh, I think I need. It's returning the whole. Let's see. Hold on. Okay. Is location known? Return this. This should be false. Let me see. Let known equals return known. And then console log known. How long do you have to finish since it's a game jam? This is a 1 month game jam because it is the games of these types are multiplayer, kind of browser multiplayer games. So they give us a month, which is a lot longer than your typical game jam. So we are right now at the 50% mark. So it's going to be a bit of a rush because while we've discussed quite a bit in the first 2 weeks and put together some mock-up stuff, we don't have a lot of game logic or the back end yet. So it'll be an interesting next couple of weeks as we kind of slam it all together. But yeah, so we have two more weeks, and then hopefully there's some interest and we keep this thing going. So I'm excited about that. Let's see. Okay. This is returning far more than I wanted. This get items by the map getters, methods. Hold on. Let me go into my pet information. Pet information. How did I bring this in before? Select pet, add pet shard. Okay, pet index, pet discovery. Map getters get selected pet index. No, pet information. How did I upgrade the pet? Add pet. Oh, add pet shard spent. Okay. And then the map getters for selected pet information. Great. Was computed. Key. Hey, Renzai. The primary developer of the game at the moment is actually Renzai. She's done the vast majority of the of the coding. Let's see. But I'm trying to catch up here. Hold on, guys. Okay. Oh yeah, this is that scrolling. That's fun. Um, I I'm trying to think about this, Rinzai, about how to do the kind of the sequencing of the map. Do you find a map fragment, and does that reveal one of these locations? That when you click on it, we see something like this, but we see it without any buildings, without the dig site, without any tents, right? It's just the natural land. And over here, you basically, you have to get a certain amount of map fragments, right? Before it's unlocked, and you need to like build up, you need to invest a certain amount of stone or gold or whatever to build the road to establish that this is a place that you guys can bring in settlers, right? But we do maybe go to this thing, and outside of the game jam, outside of the game jam, we may revisit the graphical dynamic part of this. I think it might, that gives hints like relics or artifact, right? So I'm thinking like the moment you get your first map fragment, it'd be nice if there was like a dot that you could click on and you could see your progress in revealing the second location, right? Because I'm just thinking we don't have an inventory. Sorry, we don't have an inventory that shows like, hey, I have one of, I've got one map fragment, and then even if we had an inventory, there's no screen that says like, okay, now you use them. So instead, let's keep them here on the world map. As soon as you have one map fragment, we can reveal the dot. You click on the dot, but until you get 10, it just looks like the landscape, right? And then as soon as you reveal all 10, then you do your stone investments, right? And you finally build the dig site. And then we change the image to be the one with whatever. And that may take a little Photoshop, Illustrator, playing around, us trying to figure out what's the best way, because these are really like, these are megabyte heavy files. Is there a way that we are delivering one and hiding and showing layers, or do we actually bring in a whole different image? That may be the way it is because of the way it exports. The ice disappears from that region. Yeah, well, the ice, that would be like a whole... Well, now you have me thinking, right? Like we could, I wasn't thinking we changed the world map, right? We would change something like this. No, it is good food for thought, because the one thing I don't like about this map is, even as you like, I would love it to connect the dots, like the dashes, like the paths. And I know that Incarnate has some really great, like, to actually make it look like there's a little building here now, instead of just the dot. Like we keep the dot as obviously the very clickable, obvious element, but like right next to it is a very tiny one of the little town stamps, right? And then you have the dotted path up to the next thing, and maybe this one uses like the mine stamp or something like that. The only thing I want to say is we got to be careful. We have to figure out, and maybe this is even a point to like contact Incarnate to try to figure out what is the best way to do this in terms of overall like bandwidth, like the size of these images and stuff like that. To make this mobile friendly and stuff like that, so you're not downloading too much. And maybe it is just like a settings in your account that says I want the high quality graphics or I don't. Yeah, do a Google search. Well, what would be nice is if there was a way to export the Incarnate stuff as layers, so you could still keep, in the same way that in Illustrator you're grouping and everything, and there's, when you export it, there's some there's basically markers in the SVG that we can hook onto. It'd be helpful if in Incarnate the same way, what it would be? Holy crap. If you could just do Incarnate exports of the various layers, like turn off the background and just keep the tent layer. right? If we export all the layers individually from Incarnate and then just build it dynamically, you can. Well, hold on. Flatten and stamp. Okay. All right. Well, then if that's a thing, then that's something I want to explore post jam. Hold on. Okay. So you can hide and show certain layers. For some reason, I thought like the background would be there in all of them, and so it would make the image huge. But the moment you turn off the background, and all we have is like the couple of tent stamps, that's a very small file. I can see us, Rinzai, I can see us having a very solid like component like helper here on how to render these dynamic incarnate maps based off the player status, like the player state. So we can hide and show certain paths here and stuff like that. I think that would be very cool. Okay, we'll dig into that later. Okay. Okay. Good. I think that would really make right. I mean, here's the thing. Like you go into the location. I mean, this already looks really cool, but if it doesn't change, if it never changes, people are going to start ignoring it. All right? It just becomes that sort of like, oh, okay. But if it is like if this is that much more core part of the game that you actually do anticipate the look and feel of this graphic changing, maybe not every day, but that like your location 1-1 does not look like mine, right? Does not look like someone else's. Okay. I like that possibility. I like that they're being, especially on something like this, Rinzai. If I go back to not that one, this one. These different buildings, like if you conditionally put in a certain building or a tower or something like that, right? Different, essentially bonuses or upgrades, almost like building a town. We all upgrade the towns differently. Cool. Okay, we'll put that a little bit on the back burner. That is an exciting thing to just keep in mind. For right now, I still want to get the conditional hiding. I don't have any map fragments right now, so this should not be happening. I think actually what I want to do is I have a map getter for, hold on, add I don't want to look in the pet stuff. I want to look in the inventory, character screen for the upgrades. Here it is. And get item by ID. Okay, in the computed. Okay, get item by ID. Oh, my bad. I think I know what I did. This doesn't get brought into the methods. Even though it has a parameter, it's going to go in computeds, I guess. We're going to try that out. See how that works. Okay. Okay, good. So that returns 0 for everything. Now if I have myself map fragment 1, okay. What am I trying to do here? I need this to re-render. Hold on just a second. I mean, this is the same pattern I was using on the character screen. Is location known? You know what I don't like about this? Let's try this. I don't like that it's... Let's try this. Let's go to the 1-1. Let's just try this. Oh, I was also saying, well, I think when you were out, it'd be real nice to eventually, like, these circles, they could just be put in a loop. Everything here could just be put in a loop. Let's see, I don't need the that thing. That way we're not duplicating so much code, but we don't need to worry about that just yet. Just a second, guys, just a second. Okay. Do do do. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so what I want to try to do here is if I do this, there we go. Okay, so lesson learned. We're just going to go directly to the get item, and now we're just going to check for whether or not there is the item. Doing the get item through the is location known is just inefficient. So I think this is going to be really cool. So these things will just appear on the map. As soon as you have at least one of these items, and you never don't have the map fragment, right? Like once you get it, it's gonna stick with you. And once the location has been like fully discovered, it will just hide it, and it won't be in your drop table anymore. We will hide the item from the location view. And it won't be in your drop table. Yeah. In fact, there's probably a good way to pace this out, where like let's not. I'm actually thinking like not to act. Oh, this would actually be even smarter. Tell me what you think about this, Rinzai. Rather than actually have uh, the look. Well, okay, I'll finish my thought. There's two ways you can do this. You could have map fragments in the drop table, which means to a certain extent it's RNG on when you discover the next location. Now, it wouldn't be ridiculous, but it would be RNG. The second way to do this is sort of like at milestones. After 1,000 stone moved, or 10,000 stone moved, or 100,000 stone moved, you'd basically get to the point where you would unlock the next location, right? It could be maybe a certain mix and match of it. So if you need 10 of these locations, 5 are going to be RNG, 5 are going to be milestones, something like that. It'll prevent someone from unlocking the next location like within a few minutes for some reason, RNG wise. But also the opposite. Oh my god, I've been at this location for days and I can't find the last 3 map fragments, right? That wouldn't happen. So anyways, something to think about. Anyways, this thing is now rigged up so that it's looking at your inventory and seeing if you have the map fragment. We have the button in the footer that reveals it. I'm going to put in a couple more so we can reveal the other 1, 2, and 1, 3. I'm just going to do it for the first sequence. I think for the western region. And we will go ahead and build from there. Let's see if I do dot. Great. Okay, now I'm going to give myself the next map fragment. Boom. And the third one. Boom. There it is. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So that worked. Now if I actually go into that location. Oh, and I want to make it hoverable. Hold on. In the interactive map. Cursor point. This was, what was this called before? Nodes? It's still nodes. Oh, but these are circles? Circles? Or circle. There we go. Let's see. Let me refresh. I want the nice little hand effect when I hover over this. One more. Sorry, guys. Sorry, just a little personal issue. Alrighty. Okay. I know this have been a few interruptions today on the stream. Let's okay. Let's see. Okay, good. Okay, so this is working. And then, so this is the region screen. That's great. I like the region screen. And let's go into the location. So yeah, Rinzai, I think we have a lot of opportunity here to really bring the world to life with some more dynamic maps in the future. Especially when you... especially if we ever want to simulate some of these places like being under attack and stuff like that, right? You could put in some temporary stuff. Okay. It'd be pretty fun. Okay, so that stuff. We're gonna get rid of that and that. We haven't. Okay. I'd like to eventually put in some mouse over stuff. Hold on. I didn't get that quite down. Nodes, circle. Hold on. What is it? ID, nodes, circle. Yeah. I guess I just put it in CSL1. Hold on, sorry. Cursor, pointer. Here, put it there. Initial map and incarnate, hidden details made in Illustrator basically. Okay. And do the coverage. Okay. Yeah, the thing you were talking about with the ice. Oops, let me go back up to the map fragment. Now when I hover, yeah, now I get the proper mouse icon when I hover over it. So it would be cool if there's almost like a fog of war, right? And if there was some terraforming, and by that I don't really mean terraforming, but like if there was like an ice wall in place, and it's not just building a road, but you actually had to expend some amount of resources to melt a small way through the glacier, and then you could proceed to the next region. But we could demonstrate that on the map, that there's a region covered in ice, right? This is where, like, down the line here, now I'm just talking stuff like expansion shit. Just because it's easier to say, like, oh, there's a later patch, right? But you could trigger volcanic activity, right? You would trigger a volcano that would melt the glacier, and that would reveal a new basin, a new valley, or whatever, and then you could explore from there, right? Okay. Okay. Well, okay, so for right now, the maps already look like amazing. Let's definitely just keep in mind we have to be done with this in 2 weeks. After that, we can do whatever the hell we want. We're not on any sort of tight deadlines or whatever. So, yeah. Personally, I think the thing I may drop is the whole like spell casting thing. The spells, at least for the next 2 weeks, factoring in those boosts, that feels like the easiest thing to drop right now because it's not essential. That's all just bonus. That's all just global bonus, right? All the global stuff. I know it's fun and would probably really help our final score in doing well if we had that stuff, but it's also like the least critical to making sure we at least had a functioning game, right? We need to at least hit the bottommost target there to have a functioning game, to get ranked in the hack in the game jam like at all, and then from there we can do bells and whistles and polish. So let me see. Okay. let's see, MVP, right? That's got to be the motto of the day. Like everything is just MVP, is location node. So we're going to get rid of that function. I don't yet have a function for hovering over it. Eventually we'll do that. Hover. Oh, this is a thing. Yeah, the mouse over. Yeah, I have I'll leave it here in the comments, but I can trigger this function when you hover over the dot. Might be nice to show a tooltip or something like that. And we can do that later. Okay, so knowledge, map. Okay, I have a little bit. I go here, but I only have the one map fragment. So what we're going to do is we're going to save what we have right now. And what I want to dive into now is this view we have in front of us called the location view. The location view is very basic. Let's go ahead and get it. Get it happening. So the spell block down there at the bottom, okay. Then we have the combat sections. Then we have the gathering sections. We have the static map. So, and I'll say this, Rinzai, I have a component here called static map that just takes a prop of the map ID, which is just the location ID. And what's it do? It actually just takes yeah, it's getting location ID from the URL. But you can add any additional maps you want in the excuse me, let me just look in here for a sec. Static map. Excuse me. It's very simple. It's a one-line template. It's just loading in the responsive map from the assets folder, from the map folder within the assets folder. All the maps are just labeled region-location. So 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, etc. So that's how we can load in some extra ones there, the ones you've been working on. We're going to close that file. Static map. So static maps doing just, close that, debug. I closed my location view. Sorry. Here we go. So static map sitting up there and fine. It's in large mode. It takes up 8 width, then 6, and then 12. I don't know if this is going to look good for you guys. No. OBS does not do the mobile resizing the way. Have it look good. That's okay. There you go. It looks back normal now. Location 1.1. Then we have a link to the world map and then to the region. Okay. I'll just throw in a comment there. And then we have our gathering. So this is all going to be conditional now. If we have if we have map if it's known, right? So we have a map fragment section. And then we have some upgrades that we need to do to this location. Right? And these upgrades could be kind of initially like build road, right? I wanna have something to spend all this stone on, and to be honest, some of this gold perhaps. If to set up a road, maybe you have some fortifications. Depending on the location, you know, the camp could have different costs. All these are just buttons. You essentially do like one click and you spend resources and you set it up. Once it's actually set up and ready to go, Now you can actually assign and I'm going to hide the whole battle section here for a sec because I feel like that's probably going to be a little bit more confusing than we want. So let's just clean this up. Oh, spell block. Okay. Let's just clean this up. And then we'll go into the gathering section. There are some key pieces of information about gathering that we need to be able to convey. So the first thing I want to do is, just like the pet section, here, we'll just do this, and let's create like a map fragment. It feels like I need a nice little reusable component where I can just dump inventory items, like just display like a little card block. I'm actually surprised I don't have one. I do in another project. This was the hackathon we started fresh. That's why I don't have it in here. Here, I'll just do this. We make a border, a rounded border, secondary. Oh, and then I think border 2, right? That makes a nice, and then let's just do hello and close that div. I think we're going to go with border 2s for our styling. I think we decided that. That was nice. Border bottom. Let me also do border secondary. Just there we go. All right. And oh, let me do border 2. Give that nice little underline. There we go. Cool. This little router site, the breadcrumbs section div class, we'll just call this breadcrumbs. And I want to do a margin bottom 5, get some spacing from the map fragment section. Nice. The map fragment section will only be there for a little bit. Because once you have it, I feel like this was actually here. I'm going to do this. Let's do like a whatever H4. Almost want like a, we'll call it status for now, but it's basically like a little section where it's like, at what depth are you in this dig site, right? Where you're at right now. Padding 3, hello. Okay, there we go. So this is going to be fragments out of, we'll just do fragments out of 10. And computed is going to be fragments, and that's going to be, oh, we need to bring over from the view we were just at, which was the map. No, it wasn't the map view. We were in the interactive map. We want to bring over the connection to our data store. The get item by ID. Yep. Okay. Import map getters from UX. We're also going to do map actions because obviously you need to be able to spend resources from this page as well. Get item by ID. Let's see, get item fragment. This get item by ID, and we're going to do, what is it? Map fragments, and then what, underscore, and then yeah, you have the location ID. This dot location ID. Let's see this. Is this gonna work? Map fragments. I need to return, and I need to put a comma. 0 out of 10. If I click this button, that should go up to, that's not going up. Now, if I was to reference this directly, I bet it would actually go up. Let's see. When it's in a computed, it's this is an interesting thing, Kenzie. It's like I need to put a watch on the, okay, this is just good to know. A computed that's referencing a getter in Vuex where the getter is parameterized. Like this fragments isn't recalculating. Yeah, if I just print this out at the bottom. So I've got the, I don't know if you guys can see, below the green box, I've got a 0 here. I'm going to make it nice and big. If I hit add map fragment, oh, that's curious. Is it not going up? Oh, map fragments. I meant plural. Whoops. Map fragment. Okay. Now if I go over to the main map, I have it. But here on this page, when I try to, this location ID. Oh my gosh. So this is location 1.1 instead of 1_1. Did I made a small mistake here. Yay, hard-coded values. Hold on just a second. Easy fix. Let's see, how did we do this? Our IDs are 1-1 instead of _1, but the map fragment is _1. So do I just do a replace? Or no, let's just do, let's just make this consistent. Hold on, is this gonna break my maps? It is gonna break my maps. Shit, we have to stay consistent. All right, so we just need to use underscores everywhere. We're just not gonna do dash. That's fine. I mean, we could have some functions that switch dash to underscores, underscores to dash, or we could just come up with the convention right now. Keep it simple. Fix it before it gets even more convoluted. So here, let's go ahead and just rename. There we go. Now if I refresh, if I go to map, oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Let's go to map. Let's load the map. I give myself the key. I go to location. I'm here. I've got 1, good. Okay, great, it is working. Great, great, great. Okay, so if I go to location view, I can use the computed. My previous statement about the computed's not working correctly was false. That was because the map fragment I was looking for should have been under 1_1, but it was 1-1, and that's why it wasn't finding the item. So right now in the status box, I have 6 of 10. And then the moment I hit 10, we should be doing something else, right? And this is going to work just like pets, where once you have 10 and you unlock the level, we're going to treat location. So Midith, if you're still hanging around here, doesn't look like you are. Maybe you are, but the underlying thing with pets, pet level here, the way I'm calculating pet level is by the amount of shards spent on the upgrades. So if I give myself 50 shards, right? And so I've got a computed that just can take, hey, the number of shards I've spent, you know, and then if you have like a function or something that we don't, like a recursive function that'll kind of reduce that down to a level. It's going to be the same thing for the locations, right? If we treat these locations as, well, once you hit level 1, then that's it for the location. Oops, hold on. Come on, go back to map. But yeah, oh sorry. But the idea is that like I'm not keeping track of like a level of a location like with pets. It's not like pet has a actual variable called level that is stored in the data store. The thing I'm storing is number of shards spent. Shards that I have available, shards that I have spent. It's the same with locations. So we'll have basically map fragments found. And from that, we will unlock things. So, okay. So what I want to do here, and just to make it human readable, we can have a computer that basically says, hey, if you've spent at least 10, this is unlocked, and then we can use that computed. So we could say, known. So is known, or is discovered, is going to be return this dot fragments is greater or equal to 10. Right? That's a good computed. And then we say, here, we'll do something like this, right? We'll put it on the div class gather wrapper, right? And we do a v if is discovered. Perfect. And we wrap all of that. So, and I think I can just put it 10 right here and hit add map fragments. That'll give me 10, and now the gathering section appears. All right. I think for now I'm gonna take a break. The stream's been going for 2.5 hours, so I'm gonna take a break. I feel like this is good. I'm going to continue working on this particular screen, bringing this to life. I want to be able to find the location before you can do anything with it. You should demonstrate your map fragments. Spend your stone to reinforce the location. Build the foundation for your encampment. Build the encampment, and then you can start gathering. That'll be a good place to leave it for today. Once you can hit that, my goal for the day, so that you can hit that green button, begin gathering, and from there we start to see the increase of mana, stone, and gold. Right? So that's what I'm hoping for, and then we could also throw in some basic, like you get the pet stone, you get the map fragment, etc. So that'll be a good thing to kind of flow into to tomorrow. All right. Thank you everyone for watching. This has been a good kind of overview, update of the game, as well as I'll probably do maybe a little bit by the end of the weekend. I'll probably throw together like a 5-minute update of where we've gotten to so far, because I haven't done anything in this last week just because of being busy and getting sick. So it'd be nice to drop in kind of a week 2. This is where we're at. And then Rinzai, yeah, when you have time, when you feel it's available, continue on with what we were talking about with party and combat and market, and hopefully it all come together here nicely over the weekend. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye.